vanadium. All these form or parts of the crude oil. So as the name goes, the petroleum is a word which has been derived from the Latin, so which means rock oil. So that's the reason why it is called as petroleum. So apart from petroleum, we also have hydrocarbon gases. So it is not just liquid; we also have gases. So methane is the most common example of it. Okay. So as we have discussed, so the hydrocarbons accumulate naturally 1,000 feet below the Earth's surface, and from the decomposition of organic materials like plants and marine animals, which died during the Paleozoic era. So these are the trapped below the Earth's surface with enormous high pressure and temperatures, and they were compressed and eventually transformed into the crude oil of millions of years. Okay. So if you see here, so dead organisms get trapped underground. Okay, and due to high temperatures and pressures, the viscous oil gets uh, accumulated here, and this forms different layers. As we see, the higher the density of the material that will be uh, floating on the up. So that will be more at the bottom. So water, oil, and gas. These are the different depending on the densities. So these are the different layers that will be formed below the Earth's surface. So what's a renewable and non-renewable energy? Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Kaushik? Yeah. So
Yeah,
what's a renewable and what's a non-renewable energy?
yeah, energy sources like which we can use it again and again are called renewable. So which we can't use it in a recycling process or non-renewable.
Oh, good. So what is an example of non-renewable and what's an example of renewable?
Renewable, you can say wind, solar, all coal.
Okay. Coal is
Mm,
renewable? No. Coal is non-renewable.
yeah, yes, so some areas. Yeah. And now yeah, non-renewable is like oil, gas, all with hydrocarbons.
Okay. So
Silver,
so so actually in real sense, if you consider, yes, almost many of them will be renewable, but when it comes to renewable, we take it in the human time frames. So if you consider the human time frame of 100 years, so if you use coal, will it be formed again in 100 years? No. If you use oil and gas, it is not possible to get that oil and gas immediately in 100 years. So if you consider whatever is not possible to be replenished in the human time frame, that is called as non-renewable energy. Okay.
mhm.
So that does not renew itself at a sufficient rate for sustainable economic extraction in the meaningful human time frames. So if it is not able to get completed between the human time frame, that will be called as non-renewable. So replaced by natural process. So it can be solar, biomass, geothermal, water, wind. All these are renewable energies. So coal, oil, nuclear, natural gas, all this will be non-renewable energy. So what are the different oil properties? Which institute maintains that? I mean, gives the information of the oil properties.
Properties like temperature, pressure, density, viscosity.
Okay. So have you heard about API?
Yeah, API is the trading it's discovered by the American petroleum.
Right.
It is calculated with the help of specific gravity of the particular product.
Right. So API gravity is most important, right, for oil and gas products.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So as we know, the crude oil is available. I mean, is formed in different areas. So on which conditions, what conditions it has been formed. So, so just want to know your background so that we can start. Hello.
Okay. Yeah,
What happened? What happened? It's replaying now. Hello.
hello, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, So the properties of oil, so include its density. So depending on its density, the API gravity has come into picture. API means American Petroleum Institute. So the different properties, as we have discussed in the initial slide, the different components. So depending on the different component combinations, so the properties will depend. Sulfur content, nitrogen content, carbon residue, distillation range, all these will have an impact on what kind of oil it is. So have you heard about heavy crude, light crude, sweet crude, sour crude?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So so depending on these gravities and depending on the different combinations of this, so that will be dependent. So whether it's if it is a less sulfur content, if it is called as a sweet crude. If it has got high sulfur content, it is called as sour crude. So if it has lower wax content, it is called as lighter crude. If it has got higher wax content, it is called as
Yeah, not
it
only
is
sulfur, even along with nitrogen.
nitrogen,
Both
right?
are
So sulfur,
written
yeah, yeah,
hazardous.
right, right. Sulfur and nitrogen both. So, so depending on the boiling range, we will have the different types of crude oils, different fractions, so all that will form the part of these properties. So, as we have discussed, so there are two types of oil, so light oil and crude oil. So, low density and heavier high density freely flows. So, if it's a low viscous liquid, so automatically it flows very easily. So, heavy crude, high, so low specific gravity, high specific gravity, low wax content, high wax content. So high API gravity. So higher the API gravity, the, the, the best crude it is. So lower API gravity, again it is divided into two, heavy and extra heavy. If it is less than 10, it is extra heavy. If it is less than 20, it is heavy. So it can be easily processed in refinery, so needs sophisticated technology. So it receives higher price, it receives comparatively lower price. So and another is sweet and sour crude oil. So less than 0.5% sulfur, sweet. If it is greater than 0.5% sulfur, so it also consists of carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. So large amount of impurities. So lower, so as it is a sweet, lower cost for processing. So higher cost for processing. So generally the crude, because of its less sulfur content and less impurities, you can have more output from it, more throughput from it. So again, for pure crude oil, because of its impurities, you'll be able to have only, I mean, mostly diesel and fuel oil formed from it. So how are you aware of how the pricing is done for crude oils? Hello,
Hello, yeah, I think the OPEC does that, right?
pardon me.
So the OPEC countries are involved in this, right?
Mm, not exactly.
I didn't get your question exactly. Like you're asking technically or like
No, no. How is the crude oil priced? So how they price the crude oil?
depending on the API grade. Yeah.
No, that's okay. Okay. So this API gravity differs from one place to another place, right? So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
depending on where the crude oil is formed. So as there are different countries, different locations where we get these crude oils. So so they have come up with the standard reference crude. Use reference, right, in order to in order to measure anything. You have a reference, right?
Mm-hmm.
For anything to be measured, you need a reference to be measured, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So similarly, for oil and gas products also, we have reference crude oil. So you use a benchmark. So if you,
Oh, yeah, you're asking me. Okay. Yeah, I got
yeah,
your
yeah,
question.
now you remember, right? Yeah.
Usually
So
Brent crude and WTI are like one of
right, right.
the most
So
known.
The different reference crudes are Brent blend, Dubai Oman, TAPES, and TAPES West Texas Intermediate. So West Texas Intermediate, mostly US, they refer the crude of West Texas Intermediate. Though this is not only the reference crude, there are many other reference crudes. Okay, so we get all these details from some organizations like Argus, Flats, Opis. So these are the different organizations who maintain. So as we know that the price of the crude oil changes every day, right? So every day, and there can be a change in day to day. Even in the day to day, there will be a lot of changes. There can be a lot of changes in the pricing. So what these organizations, Office, Flats, Argus, all these organizations do, they just maintain all those price quotes, and so whenever a company prices, so they use this reference crude. So these institutes maintain the price quotes and supply it to the different companies on the subscription basis. As we subscribe for newsletters, so the companies have to subscribe for the price quotes to these organizations. So they provide those price quotes, and depending on the contracts, depending on how they interact with the client, and depending on the area, depending on the crude, so they will price accordingly, considering the prices from those quotes. Okay, clear?
Okay.
Yeah, clear till now, or do you have any doubts?
No, no, no.
Okay. So oil supply chain, I think you are a chemical engineer, so you should know. So what is the oil supply chain? What happens in supply chain of oil? What are the different functions that are there in supply chain, oil supply chain?
You mean to say right from the reservoir to the processing point?
Right, right. So how do they do? How do they identify? So there are some steps, right? So first what you
Yeah,
do, then what happens, then how the
yeah,
refined, how the crude is processed. What is that supply chain?
yeah.
So supply
Yeah,
chain you will know, right? So what's meant by supply chain? So
yeah,
from
yeah,
start to end the process. Yeah.
yeah. First of all, it starts with all the geological surveys and all. So then we go for some experimental drilling of the wells, where we identify the oil in the reservoirs. So from there, it's taken out in the extraction
Okay.
process. So then it's done for it's gone for the pre-processing first, and then it goes through the transportation, and then it goes for the final processing. And then finally it goes to the marketing company.
Mhm. Good, good. So a little detailed one we'll have a look. Okay. So first they identify, okay, then they explore, design and construct, so they produce. So after they produce, they'll have to transport it to the terminals. I mean, if it is a nearer one, they'll use pipelines and all. If it is a little farther one, they use either tankers or rail cars or marine transportation. Okay, so they again, the fields can be, oil fields can be on the land and sea. So depending on how they're taking up, they consider the different means of transportation. Okay, so they store it. So from that storage area, again, I mean, if the oil fields, for example, if it is on the land, so it can be in different places. So they have a terminal where they just accumulate
So they
all
gather
the,
it
so
together.
they accumulate, right, right. So the terminals where they accumulate all the crude oil from the different fields on the land. So then from there they transport to the refinery. Okay. From refinery again there is another type of transportation to the terminal after the refinery, after the refined products. Okay. So again these are the terminals. These can be, I mean, the refinery can have its own terminals, and these terminals can be again a farther point. Like for example, if you're from India,
Yes, sir.
okay. So which place?
I'm from southern place, southern part.
Where exactly? Southern.
In AP?
Okay, you're from Hyderabad.
Yeah, not exactly. No.
Okay, which place? I'm from Andhra only.
Okay, I'm from Vijayawada, but I've done my
Yeah.
education there.
In UPS.
No, in the PDP, it's Ambani Institute, University.
Where is that?
It's in Gandhinagar, Gujarat.
Acha. So okay, you have done from there. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So Yeah. So if you consider the HPCL, you, so if you consider the refinery of HPCL in Vizag, so there are terminals in Hyderabad. So what they do, they just transfer the product from HPCL refinery in Vizag to Hyderabad through the pipelines. So these terminals, they can be at the different cities. So after once they receive the product in the terminal, so they transport it to point of sale. I mean the retail outlets where we fill our petrol, or it can be directly to the airports if they directly send it to the airport. So if there is any blending activities that have to be done before they have to be sent to the point of sale, so they do that. And again, from refinery, we have different. I mean, from refinery, the different companies directly take from it. So it can be power plants where they take either diesel, gasoline, or naphtha. And again, there can be a connection to the different plants in the nearby area. So they send it to tankers, pipelines, barges. So all this comes under the transportation and distribution. Okay, so this is called as primary transportation and distribution. This is called as secondary transportation and distribution. Right? Agree?
Okay. Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So this is how the supply chain, oil supply chain goes. So what is the gas supply chain? So you might have studied about the natural gas as well, right?
Yeah, gas is also pretty much the same, but it has some gas processing plants instead of refineries.
Okay.
The
So
equipment is slightly different.
okay. So we do liquefaction.
Liquefied remains the same. Sorry?
Do we do liquefaction of gases or we don't?
Yeah, we do. If the gas is so high dense, then we do that.
Right. As we know that, so the volume occupied by gas is very high. So whenever you want to transport from one place to another place, so especially natural gas, it has to be liquefied at minus 160 degrees centigrade.
Mm.
So similar process. So you can find the gas on the land or sea. Okay.
Yeah,
You
but not that's
identify.
not mandatory every time. So you cannot take it for granted. It's compulsory to liquefy the gas every time.
No, no, it is not compulsory. So depending on where the usage is, you can have it. So if you transport it to longer distance,
Yeah.
then you use it. Otherwise, if it's a shorter distance and if you have proper pipeline connections and all, you can use that, or you can use tankers or rail cars as well. So it
Yes,
can be done.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So the process is similar. The supply chain: identify, explore, design, and construct, produce, processing plant. So in the processing plant, the water, oil, and sulfur is taken out. So if it has to be transported to different location, so as it occupies a huge amount of volume, it is liquefied at minus 160 degrees centigrade. Okay, and then it is transported, and after it is received, it is regasified. Okay, then it is sent. I mean, depending on how it has to be. So it is sent to the local gas company, distribution, storage, industrial, manufacturing, commercial. Okay, residential, supplemental. So if you are aware, the this the natural gas in Andhra, we have it in for the KG basin. So the Reliance transports the gas through the pipeline. If you heard it, or if you have read it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So again, so if any of the plants are nearer to the refinery, so they don't liquefy it from the processing plant. They just transfer it either through pipeline, tanker, or rail car, and and the plants use that directly. Okay, clear?
Yeah. Okay.
So as the oil and gas industry supply chain, it has got the exploration, production, supply, transmission, refinery and manufacturing, primary distribution, marketing and sales, secondary distribution, retailing. So we have just discussed all these in the supply chain, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you consider crude, it flows from the production to the refinery part. If it is refined product from refinery to the retailing part. So lubricants also same, right? So we start from the refining part to the end. Natural gas, so it's the same. So from production to the refining, from after that, so it is processed for the plants. So if it is refined, it is refined, or it can be just exactly used as it is. So there are different industry segmentations, so upstream and downstream, exploration and production. Though there are functionally, though there are three industry segmentations: upstream, midstream, and downstream. But as per IS-Oil, we consider only two: upstream and downstream.
What is
So
IS
exploration,
in SAP IS oil and gas? What is IS?
IS means industry specific. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, what happened is, so you have different modules of SAP, right? MM, so materials management, sales and distribution. So if you see this, okay, so you are aware of that, or you want me
No,
to have it? Okay,
no, I don't know. I don't have
okay,
knowledge
okay.
of it.
I'll just let you know here. You understand it better here. Okay. So if you see here, there are different resources. What are the different resources that are used? So human, okay, human HR, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have to work here in the whole process, in the whole supply chain, so what are the different functions you need HR, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
So so MM is materials management. You need to procure materials in order to set up a rig, or you have to put up some machinery, or you have to get it from some vendor. For all that, you need materials management, right?
Okay.
So for selling, you need to have sales and distribution. After that, once the refined products are ready, you have to sell them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for that,
Uh-huh.
you need sales and distribution, right?
Mm.
So now
Okay.
you have the refinery here. Okay, so now if you have to have it, so you should have production planning. So how you produce, what is the requirement of the market, what is demand, what is supply, right?
Okay. Mm.
So there can be quality management as well. If it is not, I mean, quality management aspects also will come into picture, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And apart from this, there can be plant maintenance. So you there is a plant here. Every plant, they will have some machinery, they will have some generators, motors, belts, conveyor belts, compressors, all that will be there in the plants, right?
Okay. Uh-huh.
So you need to maintain them. I mean, if you have a vehicle, so every 2 months, what you do, you go and give it to the mechanic, or the service center to have to work it, to have it in a condition, right?
Uh-huh.
So similarly, if the plant has to work properly without any breakdown, so we'll have to maintain those parts, spare parts, or maintenance, repair, and organization. All that we have to do. So that will be dealt by the plant maintenance. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So in order to work, I mean, in order this whole functions to work, we need finance, right?
Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Right. So these whole whatever we have discussed, these things, okay, these things, okay, and production planning, okay, these are the different SAP modules, okay.
Okay.
So for any business to run, these are the core modules, right? Whether you consider,
Uh-huh.
whether you take it oil and gas industry, or pharmaceutical industry, or banking industry, or an aerospace industry, defense industry, these are common, right? So you need people, you need materials management, you need to sell what you have produced, you need finance team. If you have a manufacturing industry, you need to have plant maintenance. If you have to meet the demand and supply, you will have to have production planning, right?
Uh-huh. Mm.
So all these are called as core modules, okay.
Okay.
So these are the core modules of SAP. But now, is the process same for oil and gas and pharmaceuticals? Business process
Business first should be the same.
different, right? So is it same for pharmaceutical and retail?
Retail, I don't think so. Pharmaceutical, yeah, I think it is. It would be somewhat similar because it too has some manufacturing.
Then that's okay. I mean, I'm talking about the business process, how you produce, how you procure the materials, how you transport it. So if you
No, that
consider
would
oil
be
and gas,
different.
So if you consider oil and gas, it's the bulk transportation, right? We transport it in thousands of liters. But if you consider pharmaceutical, you will have a batch manufacturing, right? Every day, whatever is produced, or every month, depending on the date it is produced, it will have some expiry date, batch management, and
Yeah, yeah, that's
different
yeah.
regulations, right? The regulations for oil and gas is different, right? You agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So similarly for aerospace, there will be different business process. For defense there is a different process, right?
Okay, yeah.
So what happened is SAP has come up with a update means a new solution that they have built upon it on these basic core modules. So they use these core modules HR, MM, PM, FI, QM, SD, and on this they have built a solution for these industries. Okay, so that's the reason why we call as IS. SAP IS means it is industry specific. SAP
Okay.
industry specific for oil and gas. SAP industry specific for pharma. SAP industry specific for retail. SAP industry specific for utilities. Okay, now it's clear why it is called as IS.
Yeah, that's clear.
Yeah. So that's the reason why they use that word IS. So SAP has got 24 solutions as of now with IS. So like oil and gas, utilities, aerospace, defense, retail. So there are 24 IS solutions, out of which IS oil is one of them. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Oh, good. Yeah. So as you have asked.
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Okay. Yeah.
What were the two words which were missing under the marketing and distribution sector?
It is wholesale and retail.
Okay, okay.
You are not able to see it. It's there.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't see the words here. Please,
Ah,
above it. That's okay.
okay. So wholesale and retail are the two. Okay. Okay. As we have discussed, so you see that there are 24 solutions: aerospace, defense, automotive, banking, chemicals, engineering, construction, healthcare, high-tech, insurance, life sciences, mining, public sector, retail, etc., etc. Okay. So these are the different solutions we have come up for specific. Okay.
Okay.
So what is IS oil? So why do we need to study IS oil? So IS oil is specific, or you can have oil and I mean you can call it SAP oil and gas or SAP IS oil. But now the terminology is changing, so SAP is asking us to use SAP oil and gas instead of SAP IS oil. Okay, for our convenience, we can use anything as of now. Okay.
Okay.
So industry solution for oil and gas industry, because the process are different, so that's the reason why they have come up with a different solution. So as we know that American Petroleum Institute plays a major role in all these uh, conversions or the standards that they give us. So the system has to have interact with all those C codes routines, right? In order to convert from one table to one unit of measure to another unit of measure, or what are the properties of crude oil. So they have already gone through all those research, and they have supplied us with the different tables. Okay, so those tables have to be interfaced with the oil and gas for any oil and gas solution. And similarly, so as we have discussed, the transportation planning, so primary transportation and secondary transportation and distribution. So there has to be some interface, because we have to plan. If it is a pipeline, we have to plan batches. If it is marine, we'll have to plan on the vehicles, the availability. So whether the berth available is there, whether the berth is available in order to load into the marine ship. All those transportation planning we'll have. So we'll have to do. So for that also there is an interface needed. A terminal automation system. So if you consider uh, the terminal set the towards the end, so to supply the products, so you'll have to properly plan which truck is coming, which truck is going, which is getting filled. So they're called as bill of lading. So you'll have to consider all those bills of lading, and you'll have to understand which has come. So you have to interface that terminal automation system to the ISOL. So these are the different interfaces that links to the ISOL, and with this and with the internal modules we have discussed, right, MM and SD. Okay. So on MM and SD, all these solutions sit. So MM and SD, it's better to have some idea of MM and SD. We will in our course we will go through that MM and SD as well, basics of MM and SD. So IS-Oil evolution, so it has started in 1983. So what they have done is, so Saudi company called Saudi Aramco has come and asked SAP to help it to help on it for their process. So what they have done, they have approached different customers, more than 500 oil and gas customers, and they have come up with different business process. What are the most important business process, and then they have come up with this IS-Oil solution. So gradually now it's 2016. So almost the IS-Oil solution has got mature. Except for a few patches or few updates, most of the solution remains the same. They don't change any business process. Okay. So as we have understood in the previous slide, so there are two types, two divisions in the whole supply chain. So oil and upstream and downstream. So if you consider upstream till the refinery, it is called as upstream. I mean, in functional sense, after refinery it is called as downstream, and before refinery it is called as upstream. But IS-Oil has got it.
Okay.
But IS-Oil has got the downstream as well encroached into the upstream as well, because transportation and distribution. So you have to transport the crude oil from the terminals or the locations to the refinery, right? So that transportation and distribution is dealt in the IS-Oil downstream. So that's the reason why the IS-Oil downstream is encroached into the upstream as well. I mean, functional upstream. So transportation and distribution is a module. So that will be used in both the primary transportation as well as the secondary transportation. Okay. So refinery marketing. So IS-Oil downstream, so starts from here and it's still retailing. So there is another module called as TSW. So the TD and TSW, these are the major modules in IS-Oil. So this is mostly about the scheduling, planning, how you schedule the nomination. So which product from which plant it has to be picked up, from where it has to be picked up, how it goes to the customer, what are the different modes of transport, which vehicle should be used for which ship should be used, what kind of transportation system, whether it's a marine or it's a pipeline. All that information you use and create a nomination. All that scheduling, how you schedule depending on the refinery or throughput, you schedule. So with the help of those details, you schedule the nomination, you create tickets and all. So that is how this module works. Okay. Clear?
Okay.
Okay. So as we have discussed, so the basic structure is similar. So we have discussed, right, MMSD, production planning, QM, PM, HR, project systems, FICO. So these are the core modules. So upon that, this industry solution is uh, given. So this industry solution, out of the 24 solutions, IS-Oil is one. So IS-Oil is again divided into downstream and upstream. Okay. So the different process, so oil exploration, field development, production, primary transportation, all those form the part of it. And for the downstream, it's called marketing and retail. It deals with marketing and retail. So refineries, primary distribution, terminal management, secondary distribution, marketing and retail. So upstream, there are 4 modules in it. Okay. So production and revenue accounting, remote logistics management, joint venture accounting, and production sharing accounting. So mostly people with finance background prefer this upstream because most of it is accounting part. So it's little difficult and high on the higher side. So people with finance and accounting background prefer this upstream functional area. So production and revenue. So as we know that the oil and gas fields are not developed by only one company. So they have generally form a consortium, right? BP, Shell, ExxonMobil. So these three companies form, or Saudi Aramco with some companies form a joint venture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because of the risk involved in the oil and gas drilling and production, what they do, they generally enter into contracts with the different companies so that the risk will be mitigated by all these three companies. If it is a success, it will be shared by all three. If it is a failure, then it will be shared by all the different companies so that they don't hit their balance sheets at a higher level. Okay, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the downstream part. So these are the different modules. The downstream hydrocarbon product management. So hydrocarbon product management, because we need to convert, right? As we know that the oil and gas, the volumes of oil and gas differs at different temperatures and pressures. Okay, and if at a different, so for liquids especially at the temperatures they differ. For gases, they will have a difference at a different temperature and pressure. Okay, so you need to convert the material. So whenever the volume differs, whenever there is a product movement, the volume differs. So that's the reason why this hydrocarbon product management is very much important in order for the conversions, which place, I mean, which from upstream to downstream whole supply chain, this will be used. Whether it's a crude material or a refined product, all this will be used. Transportation and distribution, as we have just discussed in the previous slide. So primary transportation and secondary transportation. So the different vehicles, the configurations, that all will be dealing with the transportation and distribution. So traders and schedulers workbench, TSW, it's a scheduling and planning tool where we plan, schedule depending on the resources available. The transport system, vehicle, material is available in the plant at a particular date and time, which vendor, so which contract, which purchase contract, which sales contract, verify all those things and create a nomination. Exchanges, so the companies keep exchanging one product to another product. So if a company is there in Delhi and if a company is there in Mumbai, what they do, they generally, so if for example HPCL is there in Mumbai, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
IOCL is there in Delhi, okay, so HPCL will have its outlets in both Delhi and Mumbai, right?
Yes. Yes.
So similarly IOCL will have its outlets both in Delhi and Mumbai, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is it feasible to transfer the product of HPCL from Mumbai to Delhi to cater its retail outlets? Is it a feasible option? Is it the right option in case?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, can you repeat your question? Yeah, the network was just slow down. I couldn't get you.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
HPCL has its refinery in Mumbai. IOCL has its
Okay.
refinery in Delhi. Okay. HPCL
Okay.
has its outlets, retail outlets in both Mumbai and Delhi. Again, similar
Okay.
way, IOCL has its retail outlets in Delhi and Mumbai. Okay. Now,
Okay. Okay.
HPCL also produces petrol. IOCL also produces petrol. The kind
Okay.
of the petrol is petrol, right? After all, who produces it? Whether it's
Yeah.
IOCL, HPCL, or BPCL. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
is it the right thing to do to transport the petrol from Delhi to cater to the needs of Mumbai retail outlets? Is it a good option?
Not necessarily because the requirement is too there in Delhi, right? Yeah.
True, but it has its retail outlets, right? So retail outlets will be there in Mumbai also. So it has
Yeah, if it
to.
yeah, if it
So
has its own retail outlets in Mumbai too, yeah, it can send like in other places.
no, right? It is petrol. Whoever produces it is petrol. Why? If you transfer the product from Delhi to Mumbai, just for the sake
Mm-hmm.
of meeting the retail outlets, it will use
Mm-hmm.
cost. Now you are getting petrol at 60 rupees. It will cost you some 120 rupees. So it is not a feasible option. So what these
That
companies do
is
is,
a retail outlet, bro. So how can we? How is the I mean the seller is responsible for that? That it depends upon the retailer, right?
right. So that's the reason what they do is they will enter into an exchange contract.
Okay.
So IOCL will enter into an exchange contract with HPCL. Okay. Now what they will do,
Okay.
so petrol is petrol, right? Whether you produce in Delhi or in Mumbai. So all those properties, all those, the end product is petrol, diesel, gasoline, all these things, right?
Okay. Okay.
So what they do, they'll enter into a contract. They say that, okay, now BPCL says, HPCL says, I have my retail outlets in Delhi. Okay. Now what you do is, you cater to the retail outlets of mine in Delhi. Okay. And
Okay.
IOCL will say that, okay, you cater to my retail outlets in Mumbai. What they do, they create a purchase and sales contract. So whenever they purchase something, they will they will refer that contract and they will reduce that amount from the contract. Whenever there is a sale, they will refer that contract and they reduce the contract. They will reduce that amount. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So that is what is exchanges. So they will have a netting. So there can be two types of netting. So whether they can do a quantity netting, saying that, okay, now you have supplied me 1 lakh barrels and I have supplied you 80 lakh barrels. So there is a difference of 20 lakh barrels, so 20,000 barrels. So please, we will net it out in the next month. So something like that. So every 3 months or every 1 month, depending on the contract, they do that exchanges. Okay. or
Okay.
or the companies can say that, okay, no, I don't want quantity netting, you just pay me the price. So every 3 months or 1 month, whatever is the contract term, they just net it. What are the quantities that they have exchanged. So for 20,000 barrels, so if BPCL has to pay for IOCL, they will do that money transfer, closing out that contract, closing out that orders. Okay.
Mhm.
So next is tariff, duties and permits. So for the crude oil or for the refined products, we have different taxation. We have all those things, right? Different taxes,
Mhm.
excise duties, custom clearance, all those details that will be discussed in this TDP. Okay. Marketing, accounting, and pricing. So as we have discussed earlier, so with reference to crudes, the prices change, right? So there are different types. So there can be different types of pricing. So it's the formula and average pricing. The mostly used pricing is formula and average pricing in oil and gas. Okay.
Mhm.
So we'll discuss that formula and average pricing. So on location based, there can be location based pricing, right? So
Yes.
that
Yes.
pricing. So there are different types of pricing. Contract specific pricing, contract call off pricing. So we'll discuss the different pricing techniques that are used in oil and gas. Okay.
Mhm.
Next is MCOE. So MCOE is in order to ease the sales process, SAP has come up with this module. So the companies will have call centers. So every day the customers call the call centers and they ask for the product to be delivered to their. So for easing their order entry, for easing their day-to-day process, the SAP has come up with this MCOE module. Okay. So all those
Mhm.
things they will discuss. So service station and convenience retailing, oil and gas secondary distribution, these two are another different modules. But in our course, IS-Oil course, we will be discussing only these. So this is generally the companies use the third party rather than the IS-Oil modules. So they use third party systems called PDI. Or there are many. So they use
Mhm.
those third party systems rather than the oil and gas modules. Okay, so we'll be
Mhm.
discussing HPM, TD, TSW, exchanges, TDP, MAP. So these things. So this will be theoretical. This is theoretical. Uh, others others have. I mean, this will be more practical. You will have to practice a lot. So this is more of configuration based. So a little practice for exchange side. So this is again a practical based. Okay. So and again MCOE is also little practical based and configuration based. So configuration is there in all the modules, but these two are most important. You'll have to work good in order to enjoy the subject. Exchanges is also one part where we'll have. So so
Okay.
these are the different modules. Okay. So now the supply chain, as the supply chain goes, there can be a producer contract. So there can be different terminals, transportation systems, so refinery, Again, different transportation systems, so bulk transfers, sales, purchases, bulk terminal. Again, there can be exchange contract, sales contract, retail outlets, or through the different or to the jet aviation fuels, all those details. So these are the different process: quotation, contracts, order entry, pricing. For transportation, receipts, deliveries, transit, losses, gains, inventory balances, all these will be done. Manufacturing, these are the different inventory balances, receipts, deliveries, feedstock, crude purchases, all that. We'll discuss all that in there. So again, we'll have to discuss about the storage details and all, marketing, profit loss analysis. So these are the different processes involved in the marketing. So this is the IS-Oil downstream supply chain process. So now if you consider where exactly these modules fit, so MCOE fits in the storage and marketing part. As we have discussed, hydrocarbon product management has to be there from starting to end to the whole supply chain. So it will be from along the supply chain. So it is used along the all process, because you need to convert one unit of media to another unit of media. Exchange handling again is along the whole supply chain. So transportation and distribution. So as it is on the primary distribution and transportation, distribution, secondary transportation, that is the reason why it is just here and here. Marketing and pricing. So when you buy and when you sell, we use the pricing techniques. So that's the reason why it is in the acquire and trade and marketing. Tariff duty is permit. So just like hydrocarbon product management. So whenever you transfer the product from one place to another place, whether it's crude oil or the refined product, you have to consider all the taxes. So TDP, it's across the whole supply chain. So traders and schedulers was meant it is similar to transportation and distribution, but for marine, pipeline, rail car, those things we use this scheduling and management. And secondary distribution and retail. So it's on the last. So storage modules. So they just enter. So their work is to just enter, press save. That's it. Okay. So sometimes what happens, they encounter some errors saying that okay, now the product is not available. So they don't understand that. So if the product is not available, it will not allow you to save the nomination, or it will not allow you to save the contract. Okay. Now they will come and ask you why I'm not able to save the contract. So what is the problem? Now what you do, you will have to analyze what is the problem. You will have to analyze the error. You will say that okay, boss, the material is not available. So the material is not available, so you'll have to just take care of the material. Once the material is available, you can create the contract. So that's one kind of support. Okay. So again, in this support also there are different supports, L1, L2 and L3. So depending on the level of complexness, you transfer it. Another part
Oh,
is custom development. So whenever the company wants to change some of the process, okay. Now for example, now company wants to include a mailing system. So you want to mail the vendor whenever a nomination is created. Okay. So
uh-huh.
you want to mail him. So this is a kind of development. So what you'll have to do, you'll have to understand the system, which so upon saving the nomination, a mail has to be triggered. So what you'll have to do, you'll have to think the logic. So upon saving, so when you save, what are the different activities that are taking place in the system? So when should you trigger a mail? So after saving, or just while saving, or when the
Uh-huh.
ticket is created with that details, or with the nomination details. So that logic you will have to understand, you will have to check, you will have to refer the different tables in this system, and you will have to write a functional specification. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So once you write that functional specification, business will take it up and see that okay, now everything has been written properly. Now let me.
Actually,
Huh?
Hello.
Hello.
I heard some voice.
Okay, I think it's some of this. So we'll write a functional specification that will get signed off by the business, and then it will goes to the technical person who will code. It will be coded by a developer. So after the coding is done, they come to you and ask you for testing. So you test it. After the test results are supplied to the business. Hello.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So after
Yeah,
the test results, okay. So after the test results are given to the business, so if they find everything is fine, they then move it to the production. That is one kind of rule. Okay. So another kind of role is implementation. So generally after you do the support and after you do the development, then you generally go to the implementation. So for an implementation consultant, you will have to have at least some 7 to 8 years of good experience working on partly or fully on end-to-end implementations. So generally people with that experience will be considered as implementation. Okay. So implementation is, so a new company comes to you and asks you to provide, you will have to understand their business process and you will have to design which process suit. So you will have different process in oil and gas, right? You will have to
Okay.
understand their business you will have to understand, and you will have to correlate those business process with the IS-Oil business process. And you will have to tell that, okay, so boss, this process suits you more, so you can use this. So this process with some custom development will be more suitable to you. So that type of architectural activities you can do going forward. So you become a solution architect after that. So you you traverse through these roles: support role, development. A consultant with support and application development, and then you become an implementation consultant, and then you become a senior architect or solution architect.
Okay. So it doesn't need to have like any software skills, so it's not necessary.
So no, it is not necessary to have. See, anyone can learn SAP. Okay. So, but
Mm-hmm.
IS-Oil, though it's a niche area, so people with generally people with and SD, they go for it, or people with the background of oil and gas. So I have learned it. I am an MBA with specialization in oil and gas finance and marketing. So I have learned it. Though I worked in software industry earlier, so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't work on SAP. I did work on
Okay.
SAP earlier. I worked on mainframes, but after my MBA, I have been put into the projects, and I have learned from the projects some training. So
Okay.
we don't need to have specific software skills. If on the go you can learn it. That's not a problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Is it clear, or do you have any doubts? Or can we close the
No,
session?
no, that's good. Mhm.
Okay. So let's close the session. Okay.